Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gursheen Garland and you're watching Firstpost Africa. Tonight on the show, I bring you more on the ceasefire talks between DR Congo and Rwanda. Then, we shift our focus to Somalia, where President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud narrowly escaped a bomb attack. Following to that, we also dwell deeper into the rising cybercrime offensive across Africa. And more from Mali's former Prime Minister Moussa Mara on the security crisis and political uncertainty in Mali. All this and more, but first, the headlines. Ukraine says Russian missiles and drones targeted two of its hospitals and killed a person. The latest attack comes as Kyiv accused Russia of rejecting a US-backed ceasefire, despite Moscow's pledge to pause energy strikes. The Israeli army urges Gazans to evacuate what it calls combat areas in the north and south of the Palestinian territory after it resumed airstrikes following a ceasefire breakdown. Nigeria declares emergency in oil-rich river state, suspends governor and lawmakers amid pipeline vandalism. Probe after a blast ignites Trans-Niger pipeline fire. Heavy rains caused by Storm Lawrence continue to rip through Spain, causing at least one death, overflowing rivers, accidents, blocked roads and evacuations in several regions. And finally, Hungary's parliament passes a law to ban the Pride March by LGBTQ+ communities, triggering protests and the blockade of a bridge in the central part of capital Budapest. We start with the big updates coming in from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. In a surprising development, the presidents of both nations met in Qatar on Tuesday and expressed their support for a ceasefire. Rwandan President Paul Kagame and DRC President Félix Tshisekedi met with Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani in Doha in an unprecedented meeting. It marks the first time the two leaders have met since Rwanda-backed M23 rebels intensified their offensive in eastern DRC, killing around 7,000 people since January, according to authorities. This meeting comes just after mediator Angola announced the cancellation of scheduled DRC peace talks on Tuesday, citing unforeseen circumstances. DRC and Rwanda are locked in a years-long conflict. The Congolese government accuses Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebels, who have waged an insurgency in the mineral-rich east of the country. Rwanda claims its forces are acting in self-defense against the DRC's army and militias hostile to Kigali. However, Kigali has been accused of using the rebels to exploit the DRC's mineral resources. Multiple attempts to broker peace have failed. In the latest, the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels and the DRC government had agreed to hold direct talks in Angola's capital, Luanda. But at the last minute, the M23 group backed out in protest against European Union sanction imposed on its top commanders. But now a joint statement released by Qatar's foreign ministry reveals Rwandan and DRC leaders sat down in Doha and agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. However, the statement did not provide specifics on how the ceasefire would be implemented or monitored. Reports suggest the Doha talks were informal and not intended to replace existing peace efforts. Qatar has played a mediator role in multiple conflicts. It has hosted peace talks between the Taliban and the United States, between Chad and rebel forces, and has been involved in mediation efforts over the ongoing Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. The Gulf state has a history of mediating conflicts in Africa. The DRC has described Qatar as a strategic ally to both African nations. Rwanda has also praised the constructive dialogue facilitated by Qatar. However, it remains unclear whether the M23 rebels will halt their offensive following the Doha discussions, after they refused to attend the Luanda talks. Since their renewed offensive in January, they have captured 2 major cities in the DRC's mineral-rich east. Rwanda has been under intense pressure to withdraw its support for the rebels. Will Qatar's unexpected mediation help bring an end to the conflict? We will continue our coverage on this developing story. Moving on to East African country of Somalia, where President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud narrowly escaped an assassination attempt. A bomb blast rocked area near the presidential palace in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. The blast occurred just moments after a presidential convoy passed from the area. The explosion destroyed a building and damaged several vehicles. A security official said that the blast took place near the presidential palace in the Hamad Jajab area and confirmed that the president's convoy was also hit. According to reports, President Mohamud was traveling to the Harsha Belt state, where the army was reportedly planning a major offensive against the Al-Shabaab terrorist group. And the same group also claimed the responsibility for the attack. Meanwhile, the government said that the attack was thwarted and President Mohamud was safe. It added that he reached his destination as per the plan. The Somali security forces also launched an investigation into the assassination bid. The country's state media released Mohammed's images from Adan Yabal, where Somali military has been battling Al-Shabaab's offensive for last 3 weeks. Security personnel described it as a massive explosion, and according to reports, at least 7 people also lost their lives. Several passengers also reportedly sustained injuries after a car was damaged in the blast.
A big explosion rocked Mogadishu's Hamar Jajab district, especially the Horst neighborhood. The Abdi Khan building has collapsed entirely. People whom we know and others we don't know were killed in the bomb attack. It is a deplorable incident, and we don't want it to happen again. I have heard between 7 to 8 people were killed in the attack.
The Al-Shabaab group has been fighting against the Somali government for over 15 years now. It is trying to topple the existing government. The terrorist group has carried out several deadly attacks in capital Mogadishu and other regions in the past as well. However, Tuesday's attack was the first to directly target Mohammed since 2014. The explosion also came a week after the Al-Shabaab stormed a hotel in central Somalia in which at least 9 people lost their lives. Although the African Union forces had already thrown out the majority of Al-Shabaab members in 2011, but they still continue to operate in the rural areas of the country. President Mohamud has vowed to hold a complete war against the terrorist group. The country's military has joined local militias to tackle Al-Shabaab, and the move is also backed by an African Union force. Meanwhile, the US forces are also trying to end the presence of Al-Shabaab completely in Somalia by launching several airstrikes. The head of the African Union Commission, Mohammed Ali Yusuf, also condemned the attack. He described it as a cowardly and indiscriminate car bomb attack. Yusuf also called it a desperate attempt by Al-Shabaab to undermine the resolve of the Somali people. With this brazen attack, the Al-Shabaab terrorist has directly threatened the Somali head of the state and has left its corridors of power in shock. The question is, will Somalia, with support from the United States, launch a bigger retaliation and a wider operation to wipe out terrorism? We will continue to bring you all the updates. Shifting focus now, with cybercrime surging across Africa, not even heads of the state are spared. Take the recent case of Ghana. Over the weekend, President John Mahama's X account was hacked. Cybercriminals took over, urging his followers to invest in a fake financial scheme, promising to revolutionize digital payments across Africa. So what really happened? Our next report gets you all the details.
Over the weekend, a post on social media platform X from Ghana's President John Mahama left his followers scratching their heads. In the post, President Mahama encouraged people to invest in a scheme, claiming it was an initiative set to revolutionize financial transactions across Africa. Coming straight from the president, some users bought it. Others smelled something fishy. The suspicions came true as authorities later revealed the president's X account had been hacked. The hacked account started singing praises for Solana Africa, a blockchain platform, falsely claiming that it was led by Ghana's President John Mahama to make payments across Africa free using the Solana blockchain. The fraudulent posts were deleted once the president's team noticed the breach, but the account kept posting crypto-related content. After a long 48 hours, the account was restored. President Mahama himself confirmed the recovery in a fresh post. This social media breach joins a growing list of high-profile hacks linked to crypto fraud in Africa. Africa has the smallest crypto economy globally, but its booming market has become a hunting ground for fraudsters. They're pulling off scams using techniques like phishing, fake endorsements and more. And they're targeting the big names. In July 2023, South African opposition leader Julius Malema's X account got hacked to promote a bogus token. In 2022, Nigerian business tycoon Tony Elumelu woke up to his timeline flooded with fake crypto giveaways. Cybersecurity experts say high-profile figures need to up their security game or risk falling into the trap. Meanwhile, Solana blockchain continues to gain traction in Africa thanks to its lower transaction fees compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and scammers are quick to use its name to deceive investors. But as Africa's crypto market grows, it must not become a breeding ground for scams. It's time to tighten the digital defenses and keep the fraudsters at bay.
For years now, Mali has been gripped by security crisis and political uncertainty. The military junta, which took over after a coup in 2020, has been delaying the transition to democracy. Calls to bring the country back to a constitutional order have been shut down by the Mali junta. Mali's former Prime Minister Moussa Mara spoke to me on the sidelines of the Firstpost Idea Spot at the Raisina Dialogue 2025. He said that the non-constitutional order in Mali was contributing to terrorism and also described the country's withdrawal of ECOWAS as unfortunate. Here's the complete conversation. Welcome to Raisina Dialogue Idea Spot on Firstpost. Joining us today is former Prime Minister of Mali, His Excellency Moussa Mara. So welcome to the conversation to Firstpost.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Miss.
So beginning with the current situation in Mali, Mali is currently battling a terror threat. Mm-hmm. And reports say that over 600,000 people have been displaced. Mm-hmm. What do you make of Mali's anti-terror fight?
The first things, before talking about terrorism issue is a non-constitutional order now, because this situation also contributes to spread the threat of the terrorism over our territory, even outside our country, to the neighboring country. We have to deal with this issue in order to strengthen the state and to strengthen the society. Fighting against terrorism needs unity between state and society together. It is not only a question of army, defense forces. It is not only a question of institution. It is also a question of society. The people, all people involved to fight against the terrorism issue. We have to deal with all of these issues. And in the past, the country was weakened by governance, corruption, the inability of the state to provide services, basic services, justice, the fairness, the unfairness of justice, all of that combined weaken the country. And now we have to deal with all of this issue.
So speaking of strength, as you mentioned, last year Mali withdrew out of ECOWAS.
Yes.
So what is your view on that decision?
It was unfortunate. It was sad. And I didn't share this decision. Africa should be united and integrated. And unity of Africa means African Union. In the western part where we are, it's ECOWAS. ECOWAS is the regional body. And we should strengthen ECOWAS. We shouldn't disintegrate it, ECOWAS. I didn't share. And it was the decision taken by the militaries, the junta. That's why I started by saying our first goal now is to leave from the non-constitutional order, to go to the constitutional order, to get civilian leading the country, to get a free election, the resettling of a democracy, and to put back the army to the battlefield and to their organization. The military shouldn't lead the country now in this current period. This is what we should do. And then maybe we can come back to this decision, which is not in the interest of the country and which is not, of course, in the interest of the continent.
Continuing with the military, you're speaking about the front lines. France has completely withdrawn its troops from Mali. Do you see Russia taking up that space? And if they do, what are the repercussions?
I think now we are in the period we should take our sovereignty on our own, not firing France and hiring Russia in its place. This is not good for a sovereignty. We cannot talk about sovereignty and replace one power by one other external power. This is not the right way. The right way is to keep our sovereignty on our own, on our hands.
Sovereignty comes with elections. The junta promised elections and until now they've been delayed.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes. How do you see going forward? How is it going to affect the economic prospects of the country?
There is no hope without the comeback to the constitutional order. There is no hope without free and fair election. There is no hope with military order. Now the country is struggling with a different type of crisis, economical crisis, power shortage. We have only 8 hours power a day in the capital city of the country. In the 21st century, this is something unbelievable. We have to try to find a way to convince first the militaries. It is not in the interest of the country. It is not in their interest to stay in the power and continuing to do badly the running of the country. They have to go. They have to organize the election and to go to their activity as the militaries. This is the first thing. The second, once we get the constitutional order done, we can work on partnership of the neighboring country. Now we have a lot of problem with our neighboring country, with ECOWAS, with Ivory Coast, with Senegal. We have to resettle a new kind of partnership with our neighboring country, regional bodies, and an international organization like IMF, World Bank. All of them are needed to help Mali to go through this horrible situation. And we have to do that in order and step by step. But the first is convince military, go. Let the country going on is a future with stability, security, constitutional order, political activity, and democracy.
That's it on the show. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thanks for watching.